everyone, I'm Tiffany Benson, one part of Team Benson, and oh, it's a windy night in Arizona, but I have dinner to cook, so let's see what we can find in the garden. So guys, tonight I just kind of wanted to go through and pick a couple things and then also try and give you guys a little bit of encouragement. I know a lot of people are really either upset about what's going on or just worried about what's going on, and I just want to remind you guys that as long as you are trying your best to put your gardens in and take care of it, it's gonna grow. I started my garden with not any experience at all. I was actually pretty bad at it, and everything I made seems like it was going to die, everything I tried to plant. But eventually I got it, and a little bit turned into a little bit more, and turned into a little bit more, and turned into everything that you see here in my garden today. But it all started because I just planted one seed. So that's what I want to encourage you guys to do today, is just plant one seed. See what happens. Okay, so remember I told you guys that if I took off a lot of the leaves for the okra plants to grow, that the broccoli would start sprouting again? Well, that's what it did. Lots more broccoli heads. So this time they're not as tight as they were before. As you'll see, each time they get a little bit more like a flower, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. But these are still really delicious, so I'm going to go through and pick them all. So look at that, guys. All of that off of just 3 little plants. Now my plan is to put a little bit of fish fertilizer down on these broccoli plants just to try and give them an extra boost, because I see a little bit of broccoli heads on them, like little bitty ones, and I think that if I just prune it back a little bit more with the leaves, I could probably get one more round of broccoli before I need to pull these up. So we're gonna prune a couple of the leaves off and then put some fish fertilizer on it and let it go again. Okay, so I went through and I just took off pretty much a lot of the leaves off the broccoli plants, because these broccoli plants are pretty much spent. Right now I just want them to focus on trying to flower and make more broccoli heads, so they don't need a lot of those leaves. And I also want to start giving more sunlight to these okra plants that are right next to them, because these are going to be our next crops that are coming in. So I think that one of my cabbages is kind of ready to go too. And I was going to pull it tonight, but then I wasn't going to make cabbage for dinner, and I thought to myself, why not just leave it in there? Because instead of putting it in the refrigerator, I can just let it keep growing and let it stay fresh and connected to the earth. And might as well, because it's going to be delicious when I pull it up, because it's going to be right out of the backyard that day. So might as well just leave it. So what I am going to start pulling are my beets. Now I'm not really sure if I did this whole beet thing right, guys. Like, I will be the first to admit. I just kind of put some seeds down there and I put them in a cluster. I didn't really kind of put them one by one. I saw a video on about how you can cluster them and pull them one at a time, but I didn't really account for the fact that it gets hot in Arizona, so when the beets are ready, they're all ready at the same time. It's pretty much not like kind of like an ongoing thing. The weather is going to cool down for like another week. We've been in like the 80s, the 85s, high 80s. So it's supposed to get down to like the mid 70s. So I think maybe it might be able to grow another one, but I'm gonna pull a couple of them because they're kind of crowding out the tomatoes, and I want to try a beet. I've never had a fresh beet, so it'll be like an experiment. So look at this, guys. It is like a little jungle. We have the lettuce that is starting to bolt, and then we also have the beets and the tomato plant that's just like get everything off of me. And now the runner beans next to it. So let's get down here and pull some of these beets and see what happens. Okay, so these came up 2 at a time, actually 3 at a time. So don't suggest clustering your planting. Alright guys, well that was a garden bean fail. I did get one kind of decent sized big one, and the other ones, they're pretty small. But what did we learn? We learned that clustering the beets did not work for me. They worked for the other people in those YouTube videos, but they did not work for me being here in Arizona. I do have some really amazing, lovely beet greens that everybody told me that you can eat the beet greens, so I'm gonna try those as well because there's no bug damage, no nothing. These are really, really healthy. So I'm gonna see what they taste like. These will be tomorrow's salad, the beets will be tonight's dinner. So the last thing I'm gonna pick tonight, guys, are these tiny little turnips. I didn't know if they were done, but they keep kind of working themselves out of the ground, so I'm assuming they're done. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pick them. Oh, that's a big root. Kind of looks like a little bit of, like a little radish. Oh, I got my turnips, which are some tiny little turnips. I feel like they weren't completely all the way done. Here's my problem with root vegetables, guys. I see a little bit of it and I'm like, let's pick it. It's done, it's fine. And I pull it up and I'm like, tiny little carrot, tiny little beet, tiny little turnip. But, you know, hey, it's fun. It's fun growing. These are the only 2 turnip greens that I grew because I wanted to try it for the first time to see how I like growing them. I do like turnip greens in my mix of like collards and kale. I put them all in one mix together, or stir fry them, or boil them like southern greens. But I thought I would try turnips for myself this time. But instead, I got these tiny little turnips because I pulled them way too early. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roast them with the beets and the broccoli all together as a just a garden roast. I like to do that with some olive oil and just salt and pepper. You can pretty much garden roast anything, squash or radishes or green beans, whatever you want to garden roast. That's why it's called a garden roast. So I'm gonna try that out for dinner with some chicken and we're gonna see how it tastes. So I hope you guys are relaxing, enjoying this time with your families, and make sure you're growing yourself a garden because even a small space garden can provide you with tons of food. Bye guys.